Are you struggling with overwhelming and even sometimes debilitating anxiety? If so, listen, you're not alone. And today I want to share with you two ways that I've learned that helped me to win this battle over anxiety. And you're going to want to stick around to the end to hear this surprising change that I made that helped me to really stop feeling panicked like something was chasing me when nothing really was. So I never really understood anxiety for a really long time. I just didn't get anxiety. And honestly, if you knew me, if you knew what I was going through, if you knew my life, you would probably thought, how did you not have crazy amounts of anxiety with what you were living in and dealing with, Catherine? Well, I just didn't. I mean, my sister would call me and she would share with me things about her crazy amounts of anxiety that she was experiencing and what it was doing to her body, how it made her feel, and just the effects of that. And I would just listen, like a good sister, and not understand. I would just listen and have no helpful words of advice for her because I truly did not understand anxiety because I lived in this constant state of being fully stressed out where I was in fight mode all the time because of the crazy abusive lifestyle and all the things I grew up with. It was my norm and I didn't know any different. And so I just live this way. Like, it's fine. Like, I just learned to adapt, right? I adapted to my surroundings and I just learned to live with it. And I didn't experience what I would call anxiety. I mean, I had fear and battled with things here and there, but not like the anxiety and sometimes like the debilitating anxiety that people feel that causes them to not be able to go out in crowds or pick up the phone and call somebody or whatever it might be, just the panic, the overwhelm. And in that way, I did not experience that at all. And I just didn't understand it. And something happened in my life. Anxiety started to be a part of my life once I actually got safe. And once I actually got free from that crazy life that I was living that was so unhealthy and very volatile, that's when I finally started experiencing anxiety. And I truly believe the reason was because I didn't understand how to live safe. I just didn't get it. Like I was suddenly safe after not being safe my entire life, very, very unsafe life, that suddenly I was safe and I didn't know how to live this new way. And that caused anxiety because I was like, okay, I'm safe, right? Like I should feel better. I should feel fine. What's wrong? What's going on? And I realized that it was just because I was always looking for like, when is the other shoe going to drop, right? Like when is the bottom going to fall out? When is all the bad coming back? And I was like looking around every corner, like something was going to get me, and nothing was there to get me. I just didn't know how to live this new life. And so I really started grappling with anxiety, battling with anxiety, and kind of moving into this new vein where I felt like I had just was running to prove something. And it was like I was running away from something that wasn't chasing me, but it was really just running away from this fear that maybe somehow I would end up back there again. And so I was running like I had something to prove. And that caused a lot of anxiety in my life. And I started to understand the effects physically of anxiety when I was like, okay, am I having a heart attack? Is something, going on? I feel dizzy. I don't feel right. And all the things. And I didn't understand the physical effects of that till I started experiencing it. And I remember calling my sister and being like, hey, I get it. And I'm so sorry. I did not understand. I understand now, right? And I have a couple of scriptures that I'm going to share with you in just a second. But before I give those to you, some of these things that helped me so much, I really want to just talk about two issues. I really feel the need to address these things. And this is what I battled with the most. Two things that I battled during, my war with anxiety. And that was feeling guilty over actually having the feelings of anxiety and then also dealing with a lack of trust. So let's just tackle the first thing to begin with. These feelings of anxiety that would overwhelm me and I'd feel like something was wrong with me made me feel shame and guilt. I felt guilty like I wasn't allowed to talk about it. I didn't know who to talk about it with. I would feel judged if I did talk about it in my Christian circles because you're a Christian, you shouldn't be feeling anxiety, right? Like just get the Prince of Peace and you'd be fine. You must need Jesus. You must not have Jesus, that kind of like feeling. Nobody said those words directly to me, but I did feel that way for a long time. Like I had a disorder, like something was really wrong with me. And now I know that there are disorders in that way, but that was not my case. I did not have an actual physical like anxiety disorder, nor was I going to claim anxiety as my own by walking around and saying it's my anxiety. But I definitely did battle with anxiety, and I did it silently, where I felt like I wasn't allowed to talk about it. I also didn't want to go the other extreme where I wore it around like a badge of honor. Oh, I have anxiety, so I can't do these things or whatever. Like people can go to one extreme or the other in just about anything, but I didn't want to go to the either extreme. And I was really feeling that guilt and shame even over having anxiety and really not knowing what to do with it or about it, and really just feeling alone in that. And I spent a lot of time journaling, asking God to help me to deal with what was going on inside, to deal with how I was feeling so that I could heal those emotions that were causing me the anxiety, and that it was okay for me to have those feelings. They may come, but I don't have to succumb to them when they come. I don't have to just let them overwhelm me. I can say, okay, I am okay. Like this is just where I'm at right now. I know what's happening. I'm okay. And just kind of talking myself through it and just reminding myself of the promises of who God is and his faithfulness. And he's with me through it all. And he loves me even though. And even if I'm feeling these feelings of anxiety, that doesn't mean that he's far away from me suddenly, like, oh, I'll be back when you get your crap together. That's not how Jesus views me or you. And I'm very thankful for that. So he didn't leave me in that. He stayed with me in that and held my hand through that season of just feeling like I don't know how to live free. I don't know how to do this thing, God. I really need your help. And Jesus just sat with me in the middle of it when I needed to take a break and I needed to just breathe through it, or I needed to have a good cry, or I needed to just, veg out and stare at the wall and nobody could ask me questions because I couldn't make a decision that day, right? I just couldn't make any decisions. My decision making process was broken for the day, right? Like I just couldn't do it. And there was just days where it seemed hard for me because if you know me well, you also know that I'm like I know what to do and I got this and I'm okay. But in that season of my life where I was really in the throes or in the thick of battling feelings of anxiety that really were overwhelming my life, I did not know what to do. I couldn't help you. I couldn't help myself. I couldn't help my kids. I couldn't help nobody. Like I was just like, I mean, I'm here and I'm doing the thing called life and I'm breathing and I'm running errands and I'm showing up in the regular ways, like I'm taking care of dishes or whatever. But I'm also battling intrusive thoughts, and I'm also battling, these things that are coming up, where I needed to be healed still. And so there was a lot going on, and I just needed to give myself grace in that season of feeling all these feelings and being okay with right where I was at and not trying to excuse it away and not trying to apologize for it, because honestly that is awful to feel like you should have to apologize for how you're feeling in the moment. Just deal with it. Don't live in it. Don't like wallow around in it, but spend whatever time you need to spend there to deal with it, right? And then move on. Like we just don't want to lay there. That was my thing where I think when people they don't know what to do with you, they want you to just be better right now. Like just get over it and feel better now because I don't know what to tell you and you're making me uncomfortable. And that's not fair. And so I just really want to encourage you, if you're battling anxiety and you're feeling guilty because of it, don't feel guilty. And I know that's easier said than done. Probably you might have just rolled your eyes right now and thought, yeah, okay, sure. You don't know what people have said to me about. You don't know what role I'm in. You don't know what leadership position I'm in. And I can't show what's really going on the inside because what will they think of me? Hey, you can. You actually can. You can bring it to the foot of the throne of Christ and you can say, here's what I got going on, and I need you to walk with me through it, and I accept this part of me and what's going on inside, and just let him into that part of your heart instead of trying to lock it away and hide it. And that was something that I did, feeling guilty. I didn't want to look at it because I felt like something was wrong or broken about me when it's not at all. It was just something that I was dealing with. And then number two reason for a lot of the anxiety that I battled with, it was a lack of trust, because I said I battled with the anxiety because I was safe suddenly and I didn't know how to be safe. And I was kind of always looking around the corner like, what's going to happen? Is something going to be bad? I didn't also fully trust God. And I noticed this too in my circle of friends and people that I've run into even in life, and women that I've ministered to, women that I have coached through my programs. One of the number one reasons that we battle with anxiety is from a lack of trust. Lack of trust in God, just not firmly believing that He is who He says He is, and that He is going to take care of you, that He already knows what you need before you even ask, and He's going to be there no matter what. Like fully trusting that God's not going to turn his back on you, that God's not going to kick you out of his family, that God's not going to abandon you. That, I couldn't trust him for all these things. And so because of the lack of trust, I would be afraid and I would have anxiety. A lot of times anxiety's, root is fear, and a fear of the unknown, a fear of what if, not knowing the future. And so anytime something bad would happen or something would go awry, so to speak, or I wouldn't have enough money to pay a bill, or, I wouldn't know how this thing was going to work out at the end, or what if I made the wrong choice? What if I didn't do right? I'm starting those statements with what if. How is this going to work out? Not knowing the end from the beginning caused a lot of anxiety because I didn't trust God for the process. And I didn't trust that God would be there at the end and know the end from the beginning, and that he already was working it all out for my good and his glory. And that was all I needed, was to put my trust in him. And I've since learned to just say all day long, sometimes I have to say this out loud out of my mouth when I feel these feelings coming on me again, because they're all too familiar, because I lived this way for the majority of my life. My childhood and my adult life is just kind of living this way, like it's up to me. If anything's going to work out in life, it's going to be up to me. But it's really truly not up to me. It's up to God, and I partner with him, but it's in his hands. And leaving it in his hands is going to make it work out so much better than I ever could make it work out to begin with. Right now, I'm in a really hard season. And I have to say, I trust you, God, out of my mouth. The minute those thoughts come into my mind, and if you are battling these intrusive thoughts, or you're thinking like most of us do, just overthinking about things, thinking about this has happened, and well, what if that happened, or what I wished I could have went back and changed this, and then that wouldn't have happened, and then this wouldn't have happened, and we just have these games in our brain that cause us so much anxiety. But if the minute you start to hear those thoughts and you start to recognize those are playing in your mind, stop them with this out of your mouth. I trust you, God. No, nope. I'm not going there. I trust you, God. I trust you for the outcome of all of that. I trust you're going to handle my kids. I trust that you're going to handle my finances. I trust that you're going to handle my health. I trust you to have the end from the beginning. I trust you, God. So I would just write that down. I trust you, God. And say that out loud where your ears can hear your voice say, I trust you, God. The minute you start to worry, one of your kids call you up and say, Mom, this happened. I don't know what I'm going to do. The doctor calls you, hey, this is your diagnosis, just so you know. And you don't know what to do. Whatever it is, the bank's calling, they're going to, take your home, your car, whatever. You can't pay your bills. A big thing broke, and maybe you don't know how you're going to take care of it. Okay, stop. Instead of panicking and trying to figure it all out and go, how? I don't know what to do. I'm scared. Like, just even though those feelings are real and they're going to come and you're going to need to go ahead and like deal with those, allow yourself to feel them and then deal with them. Keeping this in the forefront of your mind while you're walking through that feeling process of those feelings as they come, because it's still real life situations happening. But keeping this at the forefront of your mind is going to help you so much as you're walking through that. And that is just simply, I trust you, God. I trust you, God. And that can be very difficult when you don't know how to trust God. And if you're struggling with not knowing how to trust God, I really want to encourage you to book a consultation with me, and let's just talk about a few things and talk about a few resources that I can get in your hands that are going to help you to walk through whatever it is that's a barrier between you and trusting God. And it could be many things, it could just be one thing, but I'd love to have a conversation with you. So check the link in the show notes, and there's going to be a link to my calendar. You can get on my calendar, and you and I can discuss what's going on inside of you for about 30 minutes and give you as many resources as I think will help you and lead you down the road to starting to heal whatever's going on the inside of you, so that you can then open back up, or even open for the first time, that line of communication between you and God the Father, that he truly can be trusted. Because when we've had daddy wounds, maybe abused by a father, abandoned by a father, or maybe God didn't show up for you in the way that you expected that he would. He disappointed you, and things happened in life that were hard and maybe let you down, and that can cause a lack of trust. So I just really want to encourage you to reach out if you are needing some help. I'll put a link down there for you. But let me give you these couple of scriptures, and I have a bonus thing I'm going to share with you here in just a second too that you're going to love. And these are going to be real quick. But I want to give you the scripture. Proverbs 3:5-6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. So trust in the Lord with all your heart. And don't lean on what you think you know, because he knows way more and he's got it, right? I trust you, God, right? I just said that. So, and in all your ways, submit to him. Everything you do, every single thing you do, just submit to him. This is what I'm going to do, God. This is my plans. What do you think about this? How do you feel about this? What am I supposed to be doing? I submit everything to you, God. If this is for me, great. If it's not, that's cool too, right? Submit all of our life to him, right? So in all your ways, in all your actions, behaviors, thoughts, all the things, just submit those to him, just underneath. There we go. I submit them to you, God. And he's going to make your path straight. He's going to take care of the crooked places. He's going to go in and say, you know what, devil? Nope, not today. And send angels to surround and protect you in those areas. So when you are trusting the Lord with all of your heart, and all of your being, all those thoughts, right? Just saying it out loud, I trust you, God. And you're not leaning on what you think you know and your wisdom that you have. We can fully rely on God to do what God does and take care of making sure that our paths are straight, the end from the beginning, right? So then I want to give you Philippians 4, 6, and 7. This one's one of my favorite verses out of the entire Bible, and I have a lot of favorite ones, but this one's one of my very favorites. And that is this: do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, make your requests known to God. Okay, that's 6. We're going to talk about that for a second. So that verse right there, and there's other verses where the word tells us not to be anxious, but that one right there about not being anxious is so precious to me, because Paul is just reminding us. It wouldn't be in the word, okay? God only puts things in the word that we need, right? Like it's all there because we need it in some way, shape, or form for learning about how we are to live, who he is or who we are, through Christ. And that's it, right? It's all to help us. So if he didn't know that we were going to battle anxiety, he wouldn't have put so many scriptures in about not worrying and not being anxious or fearful. Okay, worry, fear, and anxiety kind of live in the same little bowl. And so when this is in the Bible specifically, don't be anxious for anything or about anything, depending on what Bible you're reading. This is the NIV, I think, but do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation. Instead of being anxious, he's saying, don't be anxious about anything, but in every situation, do this instead. Okay, so even though it's a crazy situation, you don't know how to pay the bill, you don't know how your health is going to turn out, you don't know whatever, fill in the blank. Don't be anxious about anything, but in every situation, do this instead. Pray and petition, make your requests known to God. And then with thanksgiving, that means thanking him in advance for what he's going to do, thanking him for what he's already done, thanking him for who he is. With thanksgiving, present your requests to God. Here they are, God. Thank you. Thank you that you are a good, good father who cares about my needs, and you're going to take care of me because you love me and because you are not a God who lies, because I can trust you, God. And then what happens? So that's the command. And here's the promise: the peace of God, which transcends all our understanding, right? It transcends it all, is going to guard your heart and your mind in Christ Jesus. So that's the beautiful promise. And just like, in Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. This peace of God is going to transcend all of our understanding. We're not going to have a clue how come we feel so peaceful, and neither is anyone around us, because they're going to be like, what? You know what's going on in your life? Well, of course I know what's going on in my life. Sometimes I think we talk to God like that. I know I do. Like, God, don't you see? Don't you know what's going on here? And he's like, yep, I'm God. Of course I know what's going on in your life. Okay. Like I know. And it didn't take me by surprise. And I'm not fretting, wringing my hands, trying to figure out what I'm going to do about it and how I'm going to help you. I already know, but you just need to trust me. That's our job. And when we trust him, just like a child that has a parent they truly can trust, they don't feel unsafe. They run and they don't worry about the wild animals in the woods when they're in the woods trekking through trails. They don't worry about whether they're going to have food on the table or not at night. They don't worry about whether they're going to have something to wear the next day. When they have good parents that take care of their needs, and they keep them safe and they're loving and they're kind, they don't worry about anything. And that peace that kids carry is the same kind of peace that God is talking about here. It goes beyond our understanding, though. That's just the best way that I can describe it. And it doesn't make a lot of sense to us when there is all this stuff going on around us and we're like, yeah, but I'm fine, right? That's maybe something that we don't understand, but that peace is going to guard our heart and it's going to guard our mind, which is where anxiety tends to live, right? Is in those two places. It's going to guard those places in Christ Jesus because he's going to cover those. And so I hope that you'll take those scriptures and really just meditate on those, put those where you can read them, start saying out loud out of your mouth, like, I trust you, God, even when it doesn't make sense, that you can trust him. He is good and his ways are higher than ours. His thoughts are higher. And we don't know the end from the beginning, but he does. We don't know why. We don't know how. And it may not work out the exact same way that we thought it was. But if we can just release all of our preconceived notions about how we think it's going to go and just truly walk moment by moment and partnering with him to do what we can, our life is going to be much more peaceful. We will experience a lot less anxiety. I definitely have experienced a lot less anxiety in my life. And when there are times when it comes up and I start to feel that, oh, I feel this familiar feeling, and I remind myself of these scriptures and I just say, I trust you, God, because I don't know how it's going to work out, but you do. I don't have that money, but you do. Because I don't need to know how I'm going to handle it. I just need to know who God is, and I do. And I know his character, and I know who I am in Christ, that I am his daughter, and that he takes good care of his children. So I don't have to worry about anything. I don't have to do that. Okay, this leads me to my bonus tip for you. It's kind of a little unrelated compared to like we're talking about scripture. This is a little physical thing that you can do to help you decrease anxiety. And no, it's not a breathing technique, although those are fine and they work, they do. But this is just something that you can do that will help you on a regular basis to be healthier in your response to life, like not having to battle those feelings of anxiety when things come, and then also just help to regulate your actual physical system. One thing that I've found is that when I eat sugar, I feel so much anxiety in my body. I think some of that is because I have cut out so much of the junk food in my life, over these years, that now my body is super sensitive to it. But it doesn't mean that this isn't what was happening before when I was battling anxiety. I may just not have known it, it was happening because I was so used to eating the sugar and drinking the massive amounts of lattes and cookies and whatever else I was, having. Processed food has immense amounts of sugar. Simple carbohydrates and things like that have all this sugar. Well, I would eat so much of them that I think my body was just sort of used to them. But I know that that was also not helping when I was battling these feelings of anxiety. And so once I cut the sugar out, I definitely noticed a lot more calm in my body and my response to just living in general, like eating a more of a whole foods diet. I don't eat a lot of processed foods and sugars and things like that. But when I do, I feel crazy amounts of anxiety that I just have to like, just breathe, like just fan in my face even. And I'm like, okay, what is going on? Why do I feel like this? What's happening? I feel like I need to get up and run. Something's wrong with me. And then, the spiral of crazy. And I'm like, no, I know what's wrong. I just had that latte and I shouldn't have had that latte because the amount of sugar in that latte is not my friend. Or I had the latte and a cookie or a scone with my friend out at coffee. Not a good idea. So I got caffeine, sugar, and the sugar from the scone and the carbohydrates and all blah blah blah. And then I'm like, okay, no wonder I feel all this anxiety. So if you don't believe me, give it a try. Just, eat clean for like a week. If you can go longer, go longer. And then you'll start to feel better. You'll start to notice you have a lot less anxiety. And a lot of anxiety definitely does just start in the mind. But there is something to be said about the food that we eat. It does affect us internally. It affects the way we feel. Food affects your mood, and our stomach is our second brain. So what we eat triggers this chemical reaction in our body, and sugars definitely cause anxiety for somebody who's just not used to the amounts of sugar. And I believe it even causes anxiety in people's body that are just used to the sugar. They just don't recognize maybe that's what it's from until they remove it from their life, and then they're like, oh, I don't feel as much anxiety. So give that a try and meditate on these scriptures, and I am sure you're going to feel so much better in the process of healing whatever's going on inside of you that is causing these overwhelming feelings of anxiety that can even really tend to take you out for the day or for months, depending on where you're at in life. I've definitely been there where it's taken me out for like a year or more than that, that probably 2 or 3 of them where I really battled, anxiety at just this whole crazy level that I just did not understand at all until I walked through it. Now that I walked through it, I can say, "Okay, I get it, man," and it is tough. I hope this episode's been encouraging to you today. Listen, if you could just take a few seconds, and if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and click subscribe. Click that thumbs up button on this video. And if you're listening on the podcast, this is a biggie right now. I really need your help, ladies. I would love for you to just take a quick second to just rate the show, give it a 5-star rating, and then leave a review if you're able to do that. It doesn't have to be long, it doesn't have to be drawn out, but I would really love for you to do that because it just helps to get this out to other women who could be encouraged by the same message that you were encouraged by today. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you here on the next one.